I
Is
figured
it
I'd log.
time for you to be graduating? Per.
All right. So Kat, you're manning, it looks like the back end. That's my face. Yes. All right.
Yes, sorry, I muted myself.
No, you're good. So I think like it's 11:03. Let's get rolling. So first, I just want to say
To
thank
a
you to
new
everybody.
home? Question mark.
I'm gonna mute some people. Let's see. I'm muting everybody, but
Except
Mike,
for me. Yeah.
yes. Okay. Anyways, again, I'm just want to say thank you to everybody for joining the call today. You guys are in for a big, huge treat with Mike Gandolfo. So many of you on the call know who he is. And maybe some of you don't. I see some unfamiliar faces. So Mike is a very dear friend of mine. He is a real estate broker in Louisville, Kentucky, and he's also 12-week certified trainer. So if you're all familiar with the 12-week year book and program, Mike is phenomenal at the 12-week year and does a lot of coaching and training around that. He's super passionate about helping real estate professionals just understand their value and just overcoming any limiting beliefs or setbacks that they have so that they can live their very best lives and run their very best businesses. So Mike, I will turn this over to you to get going, and you're welcome to say anything more you want to about yourself, but get your pens ready and get ready to take some notes. It's gonna be good stuff. You're muted. Let me unmute you.
All right. See, you did mute everybody. There you go.
I thought
not
I did
really
mute you though.
give you a little bit about my background, though. I think that's important because it's always interesting to see how people came into the real estate world. I was in education. I was a high school athletic director and basketball coach and science teacher. The odd combination of the athletic director teaching AP chemistry and biology. But that's what I was. I taught science, ran the sports programs, and coached basketball. And really the reason why I got into real estate is because I wanted to continue to coach basketball and be in a profession that had the flexibility to allow me to do that and also maybe make a little bit more money. So I'm sure that story probably resonates with some other people as well. I got into real estate in 2006. Of course, a lot of what I'm grateful for is what happened almost directly after that when the market took a little bit of a turn, and just the skill development that had to happen for me to not only survive, but thrive in that market. So some of that we'll share with you today. I'm not so scripted that you all can't ask questions, and let me know, just if you don't mind, I think everyone knows how to raise their hand, hopefully in Zoom, how to go over to your little person, like raise your little yellow hand and we'll call on you. But I love answering questions as we go. So with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen and get going. So, all right. So what I like to talk about is changing the algorithm. And if you look at change the algorithm, you'll see that the G in algorithm is the Google G and the R is the Realtor R. Because if you go to Google and you type in Realtors R and you let it autofill, it does not autofill, as you can see on the screen. It does not autofill with all the most positive terms. That's actually a live screenshot. Well, not a live screenshot, but it's a screenshot of what came up on my phone when I put Realtors R, and I just hit the little screenshot buttons, and that's what we have. We have Realtors are overpaid, required to arbitrate, trash, quitting, struggling, crooks, hurting, slimy, and broke. That is what comes up if you go into Google. That's what the algorithm will pull out, talking about what our industry is. And I, for one, see this as very upsetting because I think what we do is really important. But it is also, if you approach this business in the right way, this is also our competitive advantage. However, you have got to fight this brand image that most consumers have about what it is. This is why what Kat and Heather do with Be Epic is so important. Because if we don't go to war on this brand image, then you're allowing this brand image to define who you are. And no matter what your association does, no matter what NAR does, this is what the average person is thinking about when they think about real estate professionals. Now, why is that? Well, let's start first with the client. Why the client might feel that way. So we actually were talking about this today in our meetings, that our clients are stressed out. They're going through two traumatic events. They're going through a move, which is traumatic. but they're also going through whatever positive or negative event in their life is triggering that move. And nothing could be more true than that right now. We know that transactions are down about 20%. The number of transactions are down about 20%. We know that most people, if they're moving, it's because they have a highly emotional trigger that's causing them to need to move. Good things and bad things, right? We everywhere from a divorce to a marriage, from someone having a baby to someone downsizing. Maybe there was a death and we got to get rid of mom and dad's house. But we've been dealing a lot with mom and dad have got to be put into assisted living and we don't know what to do with the house. All those things are highly emotional events that are usually way more important than the move. And here our clients come to us and they're relying on us. And the reality of it is that we as an industry deal with a tremendous amount of imposter syndrome, right? And it's understandable. As I said, I didn't grow up thinking that I wanted to be a real estate agent. I don't know a lot of people who did. I mean, is there anyone, I've had like one or two people ever say that they grew up thinking that they were going to be a real estate agent. But the reality is they want to grow up. They want to be doctors. They want to be firemen. They want to be a chef, as we see in there. There's a judge. We see all these little kids with all their dreams. There's a pilot in there. But there's not a whole lot of people who grew up saying that they want to be a real estate agent. The reality of it is we come to this business because maybe we failed at something else. Maybe we were a stay-at-home parent. And it's time to get back in the job force. Some of us didn't even graduate from college. And so we kind of come into real estate as what is almost the path of least resistance, as something like, hey, I can go there and I can make some money and I can do this. But we don't fully understand what it is we're getting into when we become real estate agents. And the reality of it is, it's a big undertaking. Because what we do, we don't really help people buy and sell houses as much as we're full-time therapists. Now, again, we have people who didn't go to college, and most therapists have to have a bachelor's degree, a master's degree, and some even go for a doctorate. We probably do more legal work than any other profession out there except for lawyers. Lawyers, and again, we know that lawyers are out there and they go get their bachelor's degree, they have to go to law school, they have to pass the bar exam. We have to take like a 96-hour pre-licensing exam and pass a really simple test. It's easier to become a real estate agent in most states than it is to become a barber. We're dealing with high stakes negotiations. No matter who our client with is, we know that 95% of them, this is the largest investment that they're ever going to make. And to them, it's a large stake negotiation. It's where they're going to freaking live. I mean, this is high-end negotiations, high-level negotiations. And we might not have had that kind of training like someone like Chris Voss, if you were in the FBI, had going through the negotiation trainings. And like it or not, we're financial advisors. And we suck at even managing our own money. So there you go. Like that is it. That is why the imposter syndrome exists. We get into the business not knowing exactly what it is. We've got to do these things. We've got to do them at a high level. And we're dealing with someone who's an emotionally unstable and irrational client because they're going through two traumatic events. And if we're not understanding that entire scope of how we've got to approach it, then yes, we're going to have trouble. And we're going to get those negative things pop up on Google when people go, what realtors are overpaid and whatever else, because we've got to be able to define our value and articulate what it is that we do at a high level and how we take care of people so that we're celebrated, not just tolerated. Realtors also deal with a lot of misdirection. They're all over the place. Again, this is why when you dedicate yourself to one system like the Be Epic marketing system, you can go through and you know that marketing is being consistent and it's going in the same general direction instead of all over the place. And we also know that agents tend to operate a lot out of fear, whether that's not holding boundaries to their day and answering phone calls at midnight, or allowing a client to walk all over them, or allowing people to talk to them in the way that they would never be talked to. There's a lot of fear-based things that happen in the real estate world. So then it comes down to, how can we actually change the algorithm? What do we got to do to change the algorithm? And I think there's 4 important things that we've got to do. The first thing is that we've got to actually understand our job description. And again, I don't think our job description is to help people buy and sell houses. I think our job description, this is the what I've came up with as the most perfect job description is for a real estate agent, is that we guide our clients as their consultant, their advocate, and their negotiator, right? We know that when we have a client that we work with, that we consult with them on how they go about the process of how, if it's a listing, how we manage the first impression, things that we've got to do on that end. So we are their consultant, especially going into the transaction. We're their consultant when they're trying to figure out how much they want to offer or what they should list for. They consult with us, they confide in us, and if we establish ourselves as their real estate expert, they take that advice from us very, very serious. We're also their advocate. We're the only person in the transaction that owes our clients any fiduciary duties whatsoever. And lots of times the client might not even talk, they don't talk to the appraiser. They don't talk maybe to the title rep or whoever it might be. And we've got to advocate for our person, our client in those situations. We got to make sure that the deal is progressing the way it's supposed to and that people are doing their job and that our client's best interest is always taken into consideration. We've got to be the expert negotiator. And at the end of the day, we said high stakes negotiations is what happens in the real estate transaction. If we negotiate well for our people, it is the most referable skill that we could possibly have. People will refer you because you're an excellent negotiator above anything else. And so going to work on that skill is extremely important. The other thing that I think is really important is that we've got to understand what the problem that we solve actually is. And I touched on that earlier. The problem that we actually solve is that we help these people in a time when they're irrational. I hear agents complain about their clients, and I don't know what they expect. But if I had to sell my parents' house and they lived 500 miles away and they're in a hospital room and I got to figure out where they're going next and I got to figure out what to do with that house, I'm not going to be rational. At the end of the day, our clients, if they're rational, they're probably bottling a lot of it up. They need to know that we're this person that they can rely on, that we're this rock in the middle of a storm that's unwavering, that's not going to get emotional, that's going to be able to take whatever comes our way and help them overcome the obstacles that come at them, that is thinking one or two steps ahead. That is really kind of what it comes down to. The problem we solve is we help irrational people make very good decisions when it comes to their real estate, because it affects everything. It affects their wealth, it affects their family, it affects their mental health. So what we do, it's one of those core things that people have to have, food, shelter, clothing. We're in the shelter business, and we really help people with that, as making sure that they make the right real estate decisions for themselves. This for me is like the number one thing that I think when I went to work, and there's a book out there that I love called The Go-Giver. And The Go-Giver, if you've ever read it, which I'm sure a lot of people have, it's very short. You finish it really fast. But the 5 laws of success start with the law of value, that always to give more in value than you take in payment. But part of that is understanding the value that you possess and understanding the value that you bring to the table. Understanding that why someone should work with you versus any other real estate agent out there. And that it includes understanding your own gifts and abilities, knowing exactly what it is that you do, how you do it, and being able to communicate that and articulate that with confidence. Because when we know our value and we know our worth, then we can go out there and lead the client the way that they need to be led. And they're gonna know that, they're gonna feel it, they're gonna be able to recognize it because we kind of articulated what it is that we do, and they're gonna see it when it happens, and they're gonna be able to refer it. And that's really a very important piece, is that we've got to know and understand our value. We got to lead with value. We should always be asking in our marketing pieces, does it add value, not does it make money? And again, in the Be Epic stuff, that's what Heather and Kat do. They make sure that you will have valuable pieces that you're marketing yourself to your clients and to your database with. And then the last thing is the one thing that we all probably fight, well, at least I do, because I'm a free spirit, is that we have to have the proper systems and structures in place. And this is something that, again, I have no structure in my profile whatsoever. And so I fight this because I want to be able to do whatever I want, whenever I want, no matter what it is. And, I don't want to plan my day. I don't want to do any of this stuff. I just want to be able to go out there and do what I do. And the reality of it is that a lot of us get into this real estate business for the freedom that it says it offers, But in order to get the freedom that we really truly want, we've got to embrace that structure, because the structure is the key to unlocking that freedom that we really want. And what are those structures look like? So, for example, we need to have a lead generation system. We've got to make sure that we have a system for serving buyers and sellers. We need to have a system for managing our finances. There's another book I love called Profit First. If you've ever read that, it's a great book. So you have the Be Epic system right there for the lead generation. You have, I'm sure people have SOPs on how they serve sellers and serve buyers. When we get back to those two things, so importantly, like the one thing that I've noticed is that a lot of people have gotten away from those presentations that they do with clients before and after. Before they get rolling on a transaction, that initial consultation that they do with clients, where they actually talk about the process and they talk about their value and they talk about what's going to happen. And sellers, especially right now, from what we're seeing, are just like, they're so hungry to know what the process is, especially those sellers that are moving and they're dealing with an extremely difficult situation. They want to know that there's a plan. They want to know that their fears are being addressed in the front side. And there's a lot of people whose presentation skills have taken a step back, that we've got to make sure that we are re-engaging with those presentations and really using those for the marketing tool that they can be. So serving sellers, serving buyers, the financial systems, we've got a lot of administrative stuff that comes our way. So whether you have a virtual assistant, an actual assistant, or you're trying to do a lot of this yourself, you've got to have a system to get all that administrative stuff done, because even though it is maybe not as important as doing the lead generation, it's stuff that has to get done. We know that you've got to have a system for training, that you've got a system to reinvest in yourself, so that you're here. I mean, the people who are here have obviously understand how important it is to be in conversations to help them get better, that you're constantly working to develop your skills, your knowledge base, and your character. We've got to understand the technology out there. And, this is another thing that, from a marketing standpoint, I don't have time to keep up with what's going on in Facebook algorithms and all that kind of stuff. And when you have a system like Be Epic and Kat, who has got just incredible knowledge about all this stuff, they can help with your system with that as well. And then finally, you got to have a system for your personnel, whether or not you're a single person who, you don't have any admin staff at all, or a buyer's agent or a team and whatsoever. For us to eventually get to where you want to go, you're probably going to have some personnel questions and want to bring someone on. All right. I can't really, the way I'm sharing screens, I can't really see the chat. So Heather, do we have any questions or anything in the chat?
No, we don't right now.
Great. So now I want to start getting that other side of this, right? Thomas Edison said, if we did all the things we were capable of, all the things we were able to do, we would literally establish ourselves. I believe that the way I rephrase this quote, that most successful people feel they're slowly failing, because always there's next level. There's another that you were capable of doing more, right? You know that they're capable of doing more. And the system I think helps the most with unlocking what it is the 12-week system. The 12-week year is this bridge that takes you from where you are to where you want to be, and does it in the most efficient way possible. And I love this quote from Henry David Thoreau: go confidently in the direction of your dreams. Live the life you've never imagined. And some of us, we just exist. We don't even take time to figure out what the life that we would love to have, what it really looks like. And some of it's very clear, but we have a disconnect from how to do what we need to do in the day-to-day, get to that life that we want. Key to success is always going to be control your thinking. Because our thinking, yes.
Mike, I'm going to interrupt. Your audio is cutting out really bad, and we're all struggling.
Oh, well then let me change that. I never would have known that until you didn't say things.
Is that changeable?
Yeah, I can do it in here.
There you go.
Give me a second. Let me stop sharing the screen. Change my microphone here. All right, is that better?
Say a few more words.
Everybody sounds better?
Yep, sounds awesome.
Okay, great. All right. This is hopefully it didn't do it for very long.
No, you were reading quotes. We could see them.
Okay. All right. There we go. All right. Good deal. All right. Let me go back to this. Great. All right. So sharing our, knowing that the key to success is to make sure that we're always controlling our thinking, because our thinking is what controls our action. And ultimately it's our action that controls our results. We know that the same thinking that we've always had is not going to get us a different result, especially if it's the result we want. And right now, I think we see this in a very prevalent way. We get a lot of agents that are complaining about the market conditions or the interest rates or whatever else. And the reality of it is that the problem is not the problem. It's how we think about the problem and how we think around the problem and how we can use problems to be our advantage. So that is right there, making sure that we're constantly focused on our thinking being going in the right direction, so that when obstacles come up, we don't allow them to derail us, because you've heard the quote before, that if you want it bad enough, you'll find a way. And if you don't, you'll find an excuse. So when those things pop up and those obstacles get in our way, we've got to make sure that we're able to take action with the right thinking and guide it towards the result that we want to have. Okay. When we define execution, we know that average people have great ideas, but legends have great execution. And again, I don't have structure. I don't have execution in my profile. I have to have a system to execute, or otherwise I'm gonna be average. I want to be a legend now. And to be a legend, I've got to embrace this system of execution in order for us to get the goals that we truly want. It's going to take, though, and I don't know how many people are familiar with the 12-week year, but it takes some shifts in your thinking. The first shift in your thinking is to get out of the idea of the annual goal. This is what happens. It's December 31st. I'm setting all these goals that I want to have happen in the following year. The new year's getting ready to ring in. And the reality of it is that I'm probably going to get off to maybe a really good start. And I'm going to start to see some results. And then I'm going to be like, oh, well, I can cheat here a little bit. I've got all this time. I can always make it up. And the reality of it is you can't make up time. The time is either used wisely or it's not. And so when we go through this and we set these goals, and people set a great goal and they come out of the gate really fast, and then they start to wane, and then they're always thinking, it's like, well, I need to get back on that. I need to get back on it. I need to get back on it. And then they look up and it's September or October. And the way that this really pops up is like if people have a sales quota, if you know your friends that might be in a different industry that have a sales quota, and they kind of just coasted along thinking they got all this time in the world to hit their quota. And then they see, oh, it's October and I've got to go make all these sales. What am I going to do? Well, they're going to get busy. They're going to do the things they should have been doing the entire time. And just think, if they could have had the activity period that they're getting ready to have in that last 12 weeks of the year, if they would have done that 2 or 3 other times throughout the year, how incredible their year could have actually been. But instead, they just kept on putting off the inevitable, putting off the inevitable, putting off the inevitable, knowing that that time frame was eventually going to catch up with them. So we want to shorten that time cycle again to 12 weeks. That's really, really important. So the other shift that I think is really important for people to understand is that we are instituting tactical plans. And these tactical plans are extremely important because when we go through a tactical plan, you're going to identify up front what it is that you need to do for the next 12 weeks in order to be successful. And so one of the things that I see real estate agents struggling with is they want to recreate the plan every week. And again, this probably has something to do with some free spirit or whatever else. They don't want to just follow the plan that they set in place. Now it's okay to tweak the plan, but that tactical plan is something that we've got to commit to. And that commitment has got to be way stronger than the discomfort we're going to feel as we go through the process of this plan. We know that we can probably actually even identify what it is that's going to get in our way in the immediate future anyway. I know that if I want to lose weight, that I've got to eat better and I've got to exercise. Well, if I want to exercise, that means I got to go to bed at a reasonable time, because if I'm going to exercise successfully, I've got to do it in the morning. I've got to pre-plan my meals, which I hate to do, and make sure that I'm not passing a fast food restaurant when I'm hungry, because otherwise I'll just make the easy choice. When we commit to a plan, we've thought about all those things where we might go off the rails, and we've made adjustments in our plan so that we can handle those things as they come to us to make sure that we're doing the things that we need to do. Gino Wickman, whose dad, Floyd Wickman, did, what was it? Sweat Hogs, or if you've been in the business for a long time, I'm sure you've heard of Floyd Wickman. His dad was a great real estate trainer. Gino Wickman is the author of a book called Traction. He talks about the entrepreneurial operating system, EOS, systemize the predictable so we can humanize the exceptional. All right, so we're going back to those systems that we had on the board earlier. We know in the real estate business that these systems are constantly changing as your business grows. That the way that, even though I've committed to working by referral my entire career, the way that I do that is different today than it was 16 years ago when I got started. That my business looks completely different. The way we serve sellers and serve buyers, because tech has done whatever it has, the way we handle our money, the administrative tasks become more and more as I go from an agent to a broker or whatever it might be. All these systems and changes they're designed for them to, we know that the principles stay the same, but the tactics change, right? So these systems, as we're going through them, they're going to have to evolve with our business so that they can handle, as our business grows, they can handle the amount of volume that we want to do. The one system, though, that can stay consistent is your execution system. Now, a lot of people don't even have an execution system, but the 12-week year is that execution system that helps you do one of two things: either optimize the resources that you have available to yourself right now so that you don't have to worry about any other added expenses or anything like that, or it helps you create capacity so that you can go to the next level and do more. And every 12 weeks, we're going through a cycle of goals where you're either setting an optimization goal or you're setting a capacity growth goal. Those things are extremely important in the 12-week year to have that mindset, because ultimately we're taking steps towards that ideal life we want to live. And as we go forward with that ideal life, as we go forward to this great vision that we want to have, because as John Maxwell says, great vision precedes great achievement. If we want to get to where we want to go, we've got to have this great vision. And it doesn't mean that we have to have every step along the way planned out. We just got to have what's going to happen in those next 12 weeks so we can get to that next step and then evaluate where we are and then where we want to go and what has to happen in the next 12 weeks and then the next 12 weeks after that. Lots of times, though, we don't want to think big. I don't know. For me, that's never been a problem per se. When I was coaching basketball, I was coaching basketball at really small schools, and we were competing against these really big schools. And we would throw out things where, we wanted to think big, that we could take on the little guy, could take on the big guy, and they could win. And, we had a couple times where that happened, where the little guy took on the big guy and won. And there's sometimes when we, didn't, where we failed. But the thing I'm proud of, and I'll tell you this story about my daughter's basketball team and I coached basketball at every level, from little kids all the way through college. I actually coached some professional basketball this year, but I don't know if I'm going to actually put that on my resume or not. Long story. But at the end of the day, when we were coaching her team, she was at a very small school. And the parents would always say, "Oh, we can't compete. We're just little St. Leonard, who's just not big enough to compete." And every day we would bring those girls into the gym from the third grade on, and they would look at the banner, the wall that had all the banners from any time a team had done well at the school. And there was no girls basketball banners. And we would just have them think about, look at the vision of what it would be like if we were able to put a banner on that wall. And we got to the point where the first couple of years, we might have only won 1 or 2 games in the season. And then all of a sudden, their 6th grade year, things started to click and they had a winning record. And by the time they were 8th graders, they were in line. They were one of the best teams in the city of Louisville, and they had a chance to go actually put a banner on the wall. Now, I say this because I think that the magic of this story is that they actually got beat in the tournament and they were not able to put a banner on the wall. However, out of those 8 girls, we had 5 girls go on to play high school sports. And they believed in themselves at a different level, that even though they went big and they came up short, they got so much more out of that experience than if they would have just played it safe and said, "You know what, we can't compete." That they were able to improve themselves to the point where they were able to further on their athletic careers. And it's something as a coach that I'm really proud of. So it's okay to start with the impossible. But the problem is that most people start at the impossible level and they're like, "Well, how am I ever going to be able to do this? How am I ever going to be able to achieve that? Something that seems impossible, how am I ever going to do that?" But just like those banners that were on the wall, the question is not how are we going to get there? The question is, wouldn't it be amazing if? and allow yourself to dream a little bit until the impossible becomes possible. And when that impossible becomes possible, and you're really understanding how amazing it could be, wouldn't it be amazing if we were able to put a banner on the wall? Wouldn't it be amazing if I was able to net $500,000 in a couple of years? Wouldn't it be amazing if I was able to buy that vacation home or buy the boat or whatever it might be for you that seems very impossible now that you know is part of what you really want to go after? Keep on asking that until it starts to become possible. And once it becomes possible, then we can ask the how. Because then we can start to put together a plan based off that vision and start to chunk it down into 12 weeks and go from possible to probable to that this thing is going to for sure happen. And we know, again, that the core of that begins with the vision, your goals, and the tactics to achieve those goals. So your vision is the big overall arching vision that you have. The goals being from, we take the vision, we scale it down to 3 years, and then from 3 years, we scale it down to 12 weeks. And then those tactics are what makes up those 12-week plans for us to achieve those 12-week goals. Now, I'm going to share with you guys a movie clip here that is one of my personal favorite movie clips. And I think when you talk about a vision, there's no better vision movie clip than this coming up. So here you go.
Think you'll ever get out of here? Yeah. One day when I got a long white beard and 2 or 3 marbles rolling around upstairs, they let me out. I'll tell you where I'd go. To Hill. To Hill, Mexico. Little place on the Pacific Ocean. You know what the Mexicans say about the Pacific? Say it has no memory. That's where I want to live the rest of my life. Warm place with a memory. Open up a little hotel. Right on the beach. Buy some worthless old boat and fix it up new. Take my guests out. Charter fishing. Say what, Taneo? Just like that, I could use anything else how I get things. I don't think I can make it on the outside, Andy. I've been in here most of my life. I'm an institutional man now. It's like Brooks spots. Oh, you underestimate yourself. I don't think so. In here, I'm the guy who can get things for you, sure, but outside, all you need is the yellow pages. Hell, I wouldn't even know where to begin. Pacific Ocean? Shit. That scared me to death, something big. Not me. I didn't shoot my wife and I didn't shoot her lover. Whatever mistakes I made, I paid for them and then some. That hotel, that book, I don't think that's too much to ask. I don't think you ought to be doing this to yourself, Andy. It's just shitty pipe dreams. I mean, Mexico is way the hell down there, and you're in here, and that's the way it is. Yeah, right. That's the way it is. It's down there, and I'm in here. I guess it comes down to a simple choice, really. Get busy living. Get busy dying.
We get that iconic movie quote there with Andy talking about get busy living or get busy dying. And to me, it is such an amazing piece because we see Andy's face drift away to Zihuatanejo as he's talking about just how important or how vivid that vision is for him. He can see himself working on that boat, on that beach, escaping to the Pacific Ocean that has no memory, where he wants to spend the rest of his life. And you can see Red actually getting just caught up in Andy talking about that vision. Right before that scene, Andy talks, basically admits all of his demons, everything that he feels like he's done wrong. And then you know that he is now escaping. You can see his face change, escape to that place. And right as he starts to get Red to really buy into his dream, Red's face changes too. And he realizes that, you know what? I don't think I could ever do something like this. That is way too big. Your vision should be so big that people start to doubt whether or not it's achievable. Red even just doubts whether or not Andy is, doing damage to himself to even go there. You're in here, and that's way down there. It's just a shitty pipe dream. Not knowing that Andy had already planned out his escape, knowing that he would have to crawl through the 500 yards of shitty pipe to get to freedom. And he was willing to pay that cost because his vision was vivid enough and strong enough that he could go after it. And he was able to pay whatever price he had to. At the end, he was willing to risk his life to go after that dream, because if he gets caught, that's probably what happens. He could probably get shot, if not just locked up for the rest of his life anyway. But he was willing to take that risk. He was willing to go for it, and he did it. And when you hear that iconic quote at the end, get busy living or get busy dying, that's the choice that we all make every day. We get busy living to go after the dreams and the goals that we truly want to accomplish, or we just take one more calendar day off closer to the end, and we're just buying our time until we get to the end. I know that I want a lot of life to happen between now and the end, and I've got to go out there and I've got to go make that happen. And Sun Tzu, Art of War, talks about strategy without tactics is the slowest route to victory. Tactics without strategy is the noise before defeat. So we know that the vision leads into the strategy, where we get these tactics together. And when we have all those together, and we understand that it's not about having a checklist of goals that is 2 miles long, it's about really kind of focusing in on what are those critical few things that I've got to go out there and get done. What are the critical few things that I need to do in the next 12 weeks in order to progress towards the goal that I want to have? It's not having 15 separate goals. It's having 2 or 3 that helps you take a big leap towards that life that you want to create. All right. We are 40 minutes in. I'm going to skip a couple slides because I just don't want to miss anything here. So just hang with me for a little bit. And I want to go to this slide.
Hi.
Hi. All right. I don't know if we have Ted Lasso fans out there or not, but I'm also not going to try to be too much of a spoiler, but this came out the last episode of Ted Lasso, which I highly recommend. I think it's an amazing series. Leslie Higgins here, who we see his character transform throughout the whole show, talks about human beings are never going to be perfect. The best we can do is keep asking for help and accepting it when you can. And if you keep on doing that, you'll always be moving towards better. And that's really the goal, really, is for us to always be moving towards better. Are we ever truly going to become all that we were able to become? Probably not. But we can always try to get better today than it was tomorrow. But what I love about this quote is that he's talking about accepting help when you can, asking for help and accepting help when you can, because we know that none of us do this alone. When we look at, is this going to go over? There it goes. All right. When we look at the 12-week year system as a whole, it starts with that vision, it goes to that plan, but then it goes to process control. And process control is where we need to accept accountability from others and understand that accountability, that no one can hold us accountable except for ourselves, that other people that are in our world are there to actually hold us capable. That true accountability is not consequence, it's ownership. It's ownership over where I am and the ability to change it. And sometimes we need to have those other people in our life, whether it's a coach, whether it's a group of peers, to hold up the mirror and let us know that, hey, we could be doing something much bigger. We could be executing at a higher level. We're screwing up, whatever it might be, but knowing how important it is that we need that help from other people. No one makes it alone. So in the process control piece, we've really got 3 different things. So it's working from a weekly plan. The plan that you see on the screen is the 12-week plan. We got to break that down to what we've got to do. It's already spelled out for us. We got to just take out of that plan what's got to be done this week, scoring that week, and then working with accountability partners. The scorekeeping piece is really when it comes down to tracking. You know, and again, this is a good visual of just giving you an idea of what our planner looks like of working from that weekly plan, and then how you can score your week, and then make sure that when you go and you participate in accountability, you can actually give real numbers. Because as real estate agents, we love to talk about, start telling stories about what happened this week, so we don't have to talk about how we didn't achieve what we wanted to do. We can always talk about the numbers. You know, when you're going these accountability meetings, we should never use the word about. You know, how many calls did you make? Well, about, no, how many did you make? You know, that's what has to happen. We need to get down to a very pragmatic way of presenting what it is that we did, that we're honest with ourselves, and that we're making progress towards the goals that we want to have. Okay. Any questions from anybody right now? I want to really ask 15 minutes. I'd like to get an idea of what you all feel is kind of holding you back from executing, where you're having roadblocks, what it is that we can kind of help you with. I'm going to stop.
There was one question, Mike, in the chat that said, oh, my chat just popped away. Oh, here we go. You said something like, we're either having an optimization goal or a blank goal.
Yeah, a capacity growth goal. So a capacity growth goal might be where you're looking at a system, or maybe you need to hire somebody, or maybe you need to subscribe to Be Epic, for example, to take over that side of, maybe actually Heather and Kat is a great example of what a capacity growth goal could be. If I know that at the end of the day, there's 3 to 5 things that all of us should be doing, right? We know that we should be doing consultations with clients. We know that we should be presenting offers. We should be negotiating deals, right? We know, and then for me, like, I know I got to do some recruiting stuff for my agents, and some training stuff for my agents. But at the core, there's certain things that we've got to do. When we can create capacity for us to go do more of the stuff for us that moves the needle, and we can use a system like Be Epic to take part of that off our plate, that allows us to go out there and have more listing consultations, to be able to negotiate more offers, whatever that might be. So the capacity growth goal is extremely important.
Well, and even, your system, Mike, the 12-week year system, if people, I know a lot of us on this call have read that book, but who's really taken that book and implemented that, and actually followed that plan, and then really set your goals each week and pop them into your calendar so that you're actually hitting them. So I think, it's one thing to read it and be familiar with it, but really execute it at a high level and be accountable to that each week, because that's going to move the needle forward in your business. That's the only way.
Well, and the only thing that you can really do, again, and this is where focusing on those critical few things, because I think what happens is we start to focus on all of these things that we've got to get done in the week. And we cannot measure the importance of these things if we're just inundated with all these things that we've got to get done. If we can't take it down to the critical few things that are actually going to make a difference, that are going to move the needle, and understand that, yes, I need to make sure I account for all my expenses this week, but that's not nearly as important as it is if I had a lead generation goal of me getting done my lead generation activities. Is it important for me to reconcile my books that week? Absolutely. Or at least so I'm told. Chrissy does all that stuff for me. But that for us, like, I would need to go out there. There's nothing more important than us going out there and doing the lead generation activities that we got to do that are going to move us towards our goal. Everything else is just a distraction. And so when you actually ask yourself what it is that I have to get done, like if you ask yourself, what is the most important initiative I can take in the next 12 weeks? Then you can just focus on those activities first. The crazy thing about the 12-week year is that the 12-week year is not about making you busier as far as like, I'm going to be for 12 weeks sprinting at 100 miles an hour. The 12-week year is about really truly understanding what I have to do and getting it down to maybe 7 or 8 things I got to get done in the week, that if I get those things done first, I'm making tremendous progress towards the goals I want to create. And then I can prioritize all the stuff that needs to get done after that. But it starts with putting those key tactics into our schedule, making sure that I set aside time, that I honor the time that I set aside, and that I'm actually really taking the time to understand what tactics and what goals are the most important.
And it should actually make you way more organized. So, you know, a lot more intentional with your time management. At least it does for me. So are you seeing the questions in the chat?
A little bit. Where am I at though?
Talk to us about your planner and how we see inside. Do you sell them?
Well, so they're in pre-production. So I'm going to put a little QR code up on the screen real quick, that if people want to enter to win a planner, that they'll be coming out really soon. The way we're going to do this, though, the way that we're going to get the planners out is that they're going to be available to the people who take our next 12-week year course, which we're looking at probably starting in September, that we find that that's a really good time for people to get on board with the 12-week year course. So you can enter to win there, and we'll pull a lucky name out of the hat, and then they'll get a free planner. But if you'll also be on the email list, so that you'll get information about when we're going to do our next virtual training, that we literally take you through the entire process of building out your 12-week plan, and then we're with you the entire 12 weeks from start to completion to help you achieve your goals. And we had a lot of people take it in the fall. The people who stuck with the course, a good chunk of them hit their goals, and the ones that didn't hit their goals made serious progress to understanding why. Sometimes that failure gives us such a good lesson and a good insight into why we weren't successful, that it was a necessary step so that we can be successful in the future. Because I feel like that first time you go through their 12-week year system, it reveals so much to you that you're able to really truly understand, hey, this is what's really getting in my way. And then it gives people some foresight on what it is that they have to deal with so that they can go be successful.
What's the cost of that, Mike?
TBD. Last time we did it, it was for the 3 months, it was $250 a month. So $250 a month, and we gave you a little bit of a discount if you paid for it all up front.
And I will tell you all, we've all gone through it and it's exceptional. So if you're even, I would highly recommend.
We had a
it,
lot of people who
that
said they
time of
want to do
year.
it again. So,
I think the 12-week years, it can feel a little bit complicated. And so I think doing it a couple times will help you master it even better. I mean, it's like we do it as a team. And so we work on it weekly, right? Just to get better at it. So it's a different way of thinking. So you kind of have to, but Tyler has a question in the chat. He wants you to explain the lead and lag indicators again.
Yeah, this is a great. So if I'm assuming that a lot of people in here are familiar with, well, I'm assuming everyone's in real estate at least. Let's go with that. So a lead and lag indicator, in my estimation, and I'm going to equate it to the Buffini world. A lead indicator is those activities that we do that we know produce a result. The lag indicator is something that maybe when we do that activity, it creates that an indicator that we're going to get the result we want. So let me explain that a little bit more clear and give actual examples. I know that if I do certain calls, notes, and pop buys in the Buffini world, from all the statistical data that we have, that for me, about 12 contacts equals 1 referral. I know that I need to have 2 referrals to have 1 closing. So the activities to get the referral to me would be a lead indicator. The referral itself would be a lag indicator. And then the goal would be however many closings or whatever sales volume that I was actually going to go for. So I think that is probably the easiest way. Like we know those lead indicators are things that we have direct control on whether or not we do them or not. That's why, making 20 calls a week for the next 12 weeks is not a 12-week goal. That's a tactic. And that would be a part of a lead indicator that we would help you track. The lag indicator would be the referral, or maybe it's the number. If my goal was I want to have so many, I want to put 15 signs in yards. I want to go get 15 listings in the next 12 weeks. Well, the number of listing appointments would be that lag indicator that we need to have, because we got to have so many listing appointments in order for us to get the listing. Tyler, does that make sense? Yeah.
Sue just asked, is it a weekly class that you're going to be doing? And you're thinking September-ish, but no dates yet?
Is Amelia still on here? I don't know. I think we were looking at starting that week of the week after Memorial Day. So the way that we do it is the first week of the course is every day, all 4 days, very short, but it's each one's a different part of the 12-week year. And then we go to weekly course. We go to weekly things after that. So the first week would be, so I think Memorial Day is September 5th. So I think we would start September 6th. And then we go every day that first week, and then it'd be once a week after that for 12 weeks.
Thank you. And if anybody wants to unmute and ask a question directly, you're very welcome to. You don't have to just put it in the chat, so feel free to.
Yes, Mike, this is Sue Keene from with Sotheby's in East San Francisco. When you have it once a week, is it a certain day and time?
Yeah, I mean, it will be. I mean, we don't have any of those details out scheduled yet, but I mean, I typically like to do things at 1 o'clock because it tends to be, you know, we have people in different time zones, and that tends to work for most people in all different time zones. So the West Coast would be 10 o'clock and the East Coast would be 1 o'clock. And I typically, again, don't hold me to this, but we typically look at Wednesdays. So Wednesdays at 1 has been when I've normally done this stuff. But I mean, we haven't put any direct details out for that.
I'm very interested, so I'd love to know the dates.
Yeah, and that's one of the reasons why we're not starting until September, because once we make a decision, we want to give people enough time to create the capacity in their schedule to make sure that they can block it out. I will say this, like the people who have had the most success with the course are the people who showed up on the live calls every week. We're in a business though that there has to always be some sort of flexibility. So you would have access to, like, if something popped up and you couldn't schedule around missing a class, you'd have the opportunity to go back and see the replay. But I did find that the people who did that more often were the ones who struggled towards, no surprise there, right? But the people who took it seriously and made it a priority, because listen, I'm not saying that it's the most important thing on your calendar, but it's certainly more important than some of the things that people would miss for. And so emergencies happen, things happen, and we understand that. So that's why we had those calls of the replays available. But we also know that, you know, you need to take it seriously and try to be there if you can.
So just to reiterate, Sue and Mike, if you scan this QR code and enter your information in, Mike will get you on the newsletter list. So when you roll out those dates, Sue will get them.
Yep.
Everyone will get them.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yep.
Love it. Thank you.
We got Matt McPhee actually trying to get in the call now.
I see that, right? You got the wrong time.
That's all right.
I lost the QR code. Wait a minute.
Oh, I can put it back
he's
up
just
there.
popping in to ask a question at the end.
Oh, Matt was?
I don't know. I'm just kidding.
Matt was in that course though, so he did a really good job of achieving his goals in the one we did in the fall. So he was awesome.
Is it mostly Buffini people, or are there other people?
No, it's open to everybody. I'm not gonna just keep it in the Buffini world. I mean, my network is a lot of Buffini people, so there's a lot of Buffini people in there. But I think it's actually better when it's not all Buffini people, because then we get the idea of how some of these tactics look if you approach your business in a different way. You know, one of the things that I'm preaching right now when I talk to younger real estate agents is to understand the 4 quadrants of real estate, of lead generation in real estate, and then understand which one that you really want to focus on and you want to concentrate on, and not try to be dabbling in all 4 quadrants. Like, commit to a quadrant and go for it. But for some of us, it's good to see, like, if you were not in the working by referral quadrant, what the activities are so that you do your business, and maybe they add one of those as a secondary or tertiary strategy as far as lead generation goes.
Richard?
Any other questions? Anyone?
Can I take the QR code down now?
Yeah.
All right.
Good.
Good. All right.
Thank you, Mike. This was amazing. I took tons of notes, pages and
Well,
pages.
I don't know. I felt like I was a little shaky, but you know, it's good. I want people to make sure they always got a lot of value out of it. So, you know, I'm available for questions. I'm pretty easy to find. So if you have any questions or comments, I welcome them. If you, even if it's just like you need to have a little conversation about what's in your way right now, I'm happy to do that as well. So feel free to reach out.
Mike, do you want to put your contact info in the chat if you would?
If you scan that QR code, again, all my contact information is in that, and you can download my contact information directly.
Oh, you're right. I got you. Okay.
Yeah, you already have my contact info.
I know, but I did
Just had to
enter
click
your
on it.
drawing.
Yeah, but it will be there for you. So there it is. That's my that is my virtual business card.
Great. Thank you. Thanks again, Mike. Thank you all for joining us. And if anybody has any questions about Be Epic Marketing, if you're not a member or you have any questions about that, you're welcome to reach out to Kat or I with any questions that you have, or get on our website, beepicmarketing.com. So
All right.
thank you. Thank you. Thank you. And Mike, I'm going to call you. I need to continue our pre-conversation if we can.
Sounds good.
Okay. I'll ring you. Thanks, everybody.
Bye.
See you later.